All right. Well, I guess we're doing a little bit of a mutual recording
Yes, we
today.
do.
Yeah. So, Sergey, I think you're probably the first person I've had on the entheogenic evolution who I think you originate in Ukraine. Is that correct?
Yes, I born in Ukraine.
Yeah. You were born in Ukraine. You ended up immigrating to Israel. This is all recounted in your book, The Mescaline Confessions, and now you're down in Peru. And
Yes.
yeah, I got a chance to read the book mostly yesterday. I'd started a little bit before then, but just spent most of the afternoon yesterday reading the book and definitely really enjoyed it quite a bit. Kind of a mix of your own personal story, um, addressing some of the scholarship that's been done around mescaline, and then your your own transformation by using Huachuma, also of course known as San Pedro. I like Huachuma better than
Me too.
San Pedro. Yeah. And yeah, so there's a lot of interesting stuff to talk about there. But I would guess I'd invite you to first just tell us a little bit about yourself and
Um,
maybe share some of the story that's recounted in the Mescaline Confessions.
sure. Well, I born in Ukraine, and at the age of 12 and a half, we immigrated to Israel with my parents, right before the Soviet Union collapsed. So I grew up in Israel, basically. I went to school there, if you can call it that way, and I spent another 12 years there. Then at the age of 24, I moved to United States in pursuit of spiritual path. At that time, it was fourth way. It's a philosophical system that brought to the West basically by George Gurdjieff, and the teacher was living in California. So I felt like I need to be around the teacher, the closer the better, and that's where the headquarter was. So I moved to California by myself. That was already my second immigration, and I spent 8 years in California. Had my whole life there, married, got divorced, many things happened there. And then at the age of 32 and a half, I felt the calling to move to Peru and serve my and basically walk my path. And that started a bit earlier. It started in 2005 when I started to look for plant medicine shamanism in Peru. It just happened that I found the people here, and I was traveling to Peru for about 3.5 years to the medicine to learn, then go back. And in 2009, I felt a strong call to move and to serve the medicine, just like that. So I packed up and left. And since then, I live in Peru, and it's going to be 12 years in 3 months.
Oh, well, congratulations, 12 years in Peru. Yeah,
Thank you.
one of the things that caught me in your own personal story in the book is you describe, I think of it as walking around New York City and hearing an Andean band playing out on the street, which,
Yeah,
I don't get out much these days. I don't think anybody really does. But there definitely was a time period where kind of Andean music was sort of all over the place, where you could go into little marketplaces, and they're playing all the flutes and the little guitars and all of that, and that's actually the music that I personally grew up on was Andean music because my dad did like a postdoctorate at the University of Santiago, Chile, and he really got into that South American folk music style, Andean music, Bolivian, Peruvian music, and he brought like all of that back home. And so that's what I grew up listening to. I didn't grow up like listening to rock and roll or mainstream music, but South American music, and that's why that personally got me into playing flutes. But that seemed to be kind of like your first introduction to South American culture.
um, yes and no. The first was through the books. I read about this first, so I already was aware of such things as South America, somewhere in the world.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
uh, actually, how it started for me, it was I was about 19 years old, I think, when it was like there were few books that were very influential for me, and of course, one of them was Carlos Castaneda. And during the time, this is when I was experimenting with MDMA, and this is when the opening was starting to really become visible. So Carlos Castaneda, but that's Mexico. So during the same time, there was a book of Alberto Villoldo, which was The Four Wings, I think, or The Dance of the Four Wings. I'm not sure what exactly the title was. And this is when the first time I heard about San Pedro. He speak about San Pedro in Peru, and it really talked to me really strongly. I felt it. Um, it was at the same time when there was peyote from Mexico and Huachuma from Peru were kind of reaching down to me, you know, in space and time. And I really felt the truth in it, In generally speaking, it's like there is such a thing as Peru, ancient culture, San Pedro, I feel like, wow, I mean, this is where I'm supposed to be, like that through the book. But we're talking about something that was nearly impossible at the time. I was living in Israel. I was 19 years old. No money, no future, no nothing. I mean, there is not even. It wasn't even possible to fly anywhere for me. I mean, talking. This is like Peru was somewhere like almost on Mars.
Yeah.
That far. But in my heart, I felt like, no, this is mine. This is me. This is where it's happening. So that was I was 19. I'm not sure what year that was. But then a few years later, I moved to America, and things become possible from there. The spiritual search, actually become possible. I could go to Mexico, I could go to Peru. Just book your flight and you go and you look for people, and you manifest your desire. So uh, that's why I started the book from my story in New York, because I felt it was important, and such a maybe for someone minor event on the first look, but for me it was very important. It was almost the same, or maybe actually stronger. It was the same voice that talked to me through the books, but now I could hear it actual through the
Hmm.
music, and I could see the
Hmm.
people, and I could shake their hands and just stand there and do that. So it was closer, I would say. Peru got closer, and these guys were from Bolivia, but it doesn't matter. Bolivia is neighbors here and same culture pretty much. So
Yeah.
it's just it's not important. Is it Bolivia or Peru? It's here. It's coming from here. It's coming from the medicine. So we went to New York with my wife that I was married then in America, and it was a business meeting for her, but for me it was just getting out, and seeing New York finally, not in the street, not on the movie, but actually.
Yeah.
So I went and I thought, okay, I have a full day here to wander around and look for some shawarma to eat. I'm from Israel, I love shawarma, that's what we eat there. So I thought, okay, I'll find that. I had like $10 in my pocket. I thought that's enough. That takes care of it. So I was walking around. I was in Manhattan, and I just was walking by, and then I see two people playing a guitar. I think one was playing a guitar, another was playing a flute, and like long hair, like Indian looking guys, right on, where people walk. And it touched me. It touched me. The music just touched my heart. I stopped and I said, you know what? This is amazing. And then I thought about the book, and then I thought about, it kind of was a flashback. Here it
Hmm.
is again. It was something that was then and there, and now it's here and now kind of thing. The music kind of bridged that distance and time. And I was just standing there by myself, listening to this music and feeling quite embarrassed because there were thousands of people walking past by, nobody even paying attention. No one. I was the only guy stood and listened to these guys. Everybody was completely in their own, caught up in their own lives and just walking by and pushing me, and I'm kind of standing there like, no, I'm staying, I'm staying. And it was so touching that I thought like, I need to buy this CD. And that was the $10 I had to buy shawarma somewhere. So I thought like, okay, shawarma can wait, man. It's okay. I'm just going to support these guys, one, and two, I'm going to have this music listening later. So I bought the CD. I didn't speak any Spanish, so just say hi, thank you, buy the CD, shake their hands, look at their eyes, and something happened there. A part of music, a part of just listening to this beautiful music, something happened on emotional, very deep emotional level. I look at their eyes and they were different. They look at me. They saw me. It's not something you get usually in the
Hmm.
Western world when people look at you and they see you.
Yeah, especially New York, I would imagine.
Especially Manhattan, like the midday Manhattan. I mean, you can imagine, it's just total madness. And they look at me, and they saw me, and I saw them back, and he said something, but I didn't understand. But his smile was so real, and I said, like, man, these are real people. They came here from far to do this, and nobody paying attention. I'm just me here. Just happened to be just me here, walking at that time when they were playing, and I live in California. I mean, the chances were not great to me too. So it was very touching. So I left, bought the CD, I left. I was listening to this later, and somehow I was started to, I don't know, feeling closer. I was feeling that what I was reading about becoming closer to me. It's becoming more possible, more within reach. And later, maybe a few years later, I started to actually searching for people. It's not right away. It's kind of the seeds planted in you, and then the time, you grow them with time, and then you start taking action. So in 2005, when I already left the cult, I was in a cult in California, and I found people in Peru, and I felt, yeah, that's the people I feel truth in. I'm going to see them. I'm going to drink medicine with them. This is real. So that was 2005. At the end of it, like December, actually, right now, it was exactly right now, like 15 years ago, when we are today, what, 20th? Like, yeah, like in about a week, I'm going to Peru, basically, 15 years ago. Something like that, because it was a New Year thing. Like, we came, had a few ayahuasca ceremonies, and then we had New Year. Yeah, like 27, 26, something like Christmas time. That was it, 15 years ago. So that's how it all started for me. So I went, and that was my actual diving into the world of plant medicine. Not books, not music, but
Yeah.
actual experience. But those steps led me to it. So that's how I see it from now. And it
Yeah,
started
and
then.
yeah, and let's talk a little bit about some of those steps. I mean, what you
Sure.
recount in your book is, first of all, growing up in Ukraine, in the Soviet Union, where communism, basically religion, is outlawed. You end up moving to Israel, and then you describe rather horrifically getting circumcised as a young man,
Yeah.
not as a child, which is
Yeah.
really quite horrific. I mean, just the fact that circumcision is considered something that God wants people to do in the first place is bizarre enough, but then doing it to actually a young man. And then you also describe a lot of your experiences with MDMA, that you really kind of characterize that as sort of your experience of love, your experience of something divine, outside of any scope of religion. And you also talk about, I mean, you've got the really the interesting case where you took the three pills, and you've got the whole scene in the bathroom and all the weird
Yeah.
stuff happening
That's
there.
other
And then,
things. That's not
and
MDMA. That's other things.
yeah, and then you eventually you end up in a cult in California, which it's California. It's not surprising at all. And then eventually extracted yourself from all of that. So maybe tell us a little bit about that trajectory of having grown up essentially atheist, and then becoming critical of religion. But as for many people, I include myself there, that I grew up in a scientific materialist atheist household, and went on my own spiritual journey to discover all of this, and plant medicines played a big role in that. So let's talk a little bit about that trajectory for you, and then we definitely want to get into what is the Huachuma experience, and,
Yes.
and all of that. But let's get into that history a little bit.
Yeah, well, you highlight truly, the important points, but there's so much happened between them. Then, it took me three books to write three books to actually tell the story. So I
Yeah.
will try to boil it down. Yeah, that's true. We came from Soviet Russia, basically. At that time it was all one big Soviet Union. So
Hmm.
just to explain to people in America who doesn't know what does it mean to grow up in socialist communist regime. That is, it's hard to even find right words to explain other than Iron Curtain, and but that doesn't explain much.
Yeah.
You can of course read, you can Google up what does it mean Iron Curtain, but it's not the feeling. It's not the sensation. It's just information about a very dark political regime that completely outlaws anything that any desire or any even any expression, like any desire to even ask questions. Even a desire to ask questions, it's already outlawed, let alone finding something and doing something. Just to even think outside the box, it's already kind of illegal. Like God, churches, spirituality, universe, that just doesn't exist. It's not part of your vocabulary when you grow up. The state is your God. It's a statist regime. It's a statist religion. This is the religion of
Hmm.
the state. The God, the prime minister, the president, well, whoever is the communist party, whoever is the ruling. But this is it. That's who decide for you. That's who you listen to. This is who has all the answers. There is nothing outside of it. You're born into it and you die into it. That's it. That's kind of that's my childhood. So TV, nothing, newspaper, like nothing speaks about consciousness, spirituality, magic. Does not exist. Plants, nature, nothing. You live in a concrete society, materialistic, atheist society, which is extremely boring, obviously. And for me, it was even as a child, I was like a 5 years old. I was already thinking about, how to bring my consciousness through death. Where did that came from? It's like there was no outside stimuli to
Hmm.
encourage this kind of thinking in a 5 years old kid. So I don't know where it came from. It's just a fact. I grew up with that internal sense of magic in my life, and knowledge that my life is not there, my future is not there. And by there, it wasn't really the city I'm coming from. It was a bit more than that. It was not just geographical. It was like everything that is included, this paradigm, this atheist paradigm thing. But I knew nothing, of course, of my future and how it's going to play out. And then events started to really happen. We moved to Israel and then America and then Peru. So I was atheist, by default. Kind of everybody's atheist by default.
Yeah.
You're born
Yeah.
in Soviet Russia, you are an atheist. So I don't know from where I had those thoughts in me, but I had them. So they were there. They were there. So there was like two parts in me. It was me, the atheist guy, and there was me that was asking questions and looking for answers. So it's kind of two people living in me. And then in Israel, it was like another dimension, because then you coming from a communist Russia into a religious society, in pretty much Orthodox religious society, which is like
Yeah.
another side of
Yeah.
where you
Very
come.
strict.
It's, yeah, it's a religious mindset, but it's a very specific. It's not spiritual. It's not like any God you believe in. You believe in particular God, and in particular, there is like it's a religious, but it has a certain form. It gives you this. Okay, this is what we believe in. This is our God. This is our ancestor. This is the Torah, and it's like a long tradition, and that's it. So you come from no religion into full religion, like extremes, really. So from one extreme, I found myself in another extreme, and then about what, a month after we arrived, something like that, a month. Like we speak no language, obviously, we don't understand anything what's happening. And about a month ago, about a month later, I find myself in a surgery room, just about to be circumcised. And we were told that, well, that's the way it is. If you want to be one with God, it
Yeah.
has to happen, man. I'm like, okay, well, what do I know? I mean, I'm 13, and my parents, like, they okay, they're pressured by the rabbi, and the rabbi says it's important, it's good, it's spiritual. He will have, if you don't do it, he will have a hard time later on in the army. Everybody will be he will be bullied because he's different. So it's
Yeah.
all pressure there. We went, and we just came to another country. I mean, it's like there's so much stress, you know. And here I am, remember myself in that surgical table right before they put the mask on me, and like, okay, that's what it is. And then the hell started. I describe in the book, kind of with some details how that feels. Being
Yeah.
a 13 years old guy who already, you know, who already knows, who is not a child anymore, and then to go through this, it was very traumatic. And then I grew up with that trauma, and I had to heal it, and I had to accept that and forgive my parents. That's the whole, it's not easy. You just do something, and that's it. It leaves a certain scars on your soul that has to be healed in order to move forward in life. So I've done that, but took many years. But you see, the thing is, to answer your question, I didn't feel like I get any closer to God by losing a part of my penis.
Yeah.
That doesn't do it.
No.
It looks differently, but no connection with God whatsoever. Actually, you become more. I actually felt more connected before that happened because I didn't have that trauma. I didn't have that I don't know, the spiritual pain and physical too, but it was traumatic experience that actually took me maybe farther from where I was before, spiritually speaking. I was pretty. I know it's hard to say because it's like I was both atheist, but at the same time I wasn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm that mixed. So for another 12 years, I was looking for God everywhere I could, but He wasn't showing up. So when it started to show up, it's actually when I started to do psychedelics. That's when it's really started to unfold for me. And that was well, I did all kinds of drugs in Israel, but it wasn't for me. It wasn't. I was looking for myself. I was looking for my path. So I did this. I did this. I did that. I did bad things too. That could ruin my life. But I was safe from that. But I was looking for a method. That's the point of all this doing drugs for me. I was looking for a method, how to connect to that inner space that I felt when I was early on in my life, and to connect to something bigger than me. So MDMA did that for me. It took me as closer as one can get before getting to plant medicine, you know, organic connection. So chemically speaking, that was the closest one. So, and that was total revelation for me when I took it first time. It was, wow, here is the magic. Here is the magic that I knew, and now I can touch it. And I
Mhm.
never. I didn't do it as going to. Well, I did went to side trance party and all that. That was part of what I did. It was fun at the time, but that's I kind of move away from that pretty quick. So maybe within a year or something. I don't know. But I also started. I realized that it's good. It's fun. Good music. You having a good time. But that wasn't really satisfying my spiritual thirst.
Yeah.
So I started to do it by myself, just taking ecstasies in the forest, something, full moon, or having my flashlight, reading Omar Khayyam, reading some Persian Sufis, thinking, searching, reading, and trying to understand things. And that's where I really started to touch the magic. It was then, by myself, just listening to some music, reading some deep stuff like Omar Khayyam, Rubaiyats. I mean, you read this, man, you want to cry. You understand what he says, especially on the MDMA. You understand what the guy's saying, 800 years ago. I felt like, yes, there is a path. There is a path. I knew that. This is when it was confirmed with MDMA, I would say. It's not like you get all the answers, but you get important answers. And that's one of them, that there is a path. There is a path. It's the world. There is more to life than you see all these cars going here and there, and people going to work and paying bills. It's like there is more to it, and it was a great relief for me that there is a path. It's not just I was not just imagining. I was not just that weird guy, weird Soviet kid thinking about magic somewhere in Ukraine. It's real, but there is more to it. It's ancient, and there is a tradition behind. There are people who knew the path and who shared it with others, and it's like, it rolled. That's after doing this, and I did pretty much a lot. I had a lot of ecstasy pills. And this is that was the time when I was introduced to fourth way system too. I was pretty open already, and I
Hmm.
recognized that, oh yeah, this is real. This is what I want. It's the system. It's the system that that well that's supposed to open the doors, basically the inner doors, and define yourself and find all the answers. That didn't happen for me there and using that system, but it was an opening for sure. Fourth way was an opening. It was a stage, an important stage that, like a theoretical introduction to higher states of consciousness and to the concept of sleeping versus being awake. So it was important for me. And combined with LSD and ecstasy, it was good. I really felt like I'm figuring out my path. But I had to, of course, leave it behind, because when you move through this and you find plant medicine, that's like a stage. That's like a whole new level. This is when words becomes the experience. So this is when you discover the truth internally. This is when you embody the knowledge. So that's Peru. That's Huachuma in particular. Although I started from ayahuasca, but when I did Huachuma, I felt like this is it. This is it.
Yeah.
This is my thing. So that's kind of pretty much, summarizing.
Yeah. And definitely one of the running themes throughout the book is this idea of, I guess we could call it lived and embodied spiritual awareness versus um,
Theory.
really the displacement that tends to come with most forms of religion, in the sense of,
Yeah.
well, it'll be your afterlife, or it'll be
Yes.
your next life, or it'll
Yes.
be you're seeking after some kind of removal from society, some kind of self-annihilation, some kind of death of the ego on a permanent basis, monasticism, and it's always being put off into the next life, or the
Yeah.
next thing, or the
Later.
next world. and
Later.
and your theme, yeah, it's always
Later.
later.
It's
And
later.
even the
And
religion of consumerism, or the religion of consumerism, is always the next product that you buy, and then the next one that you buy after that. And your focus then went into, well, what is the embodied experience and the methodology to experience this here now within myself, in the context of nature, in the context of family, in the context of society, and so that it's a lived reality rather than this perpetual displacement that happens through religion.
Absolutely. That's the actual key. What you just said. That's my message. That's my main message. It runs through the whole through all three books, basically. That's the message I want to convey. That guys, it's all happening here. We just need to wake up to it.
Yeah,
It's like it's stop being duped. That's the message. It's
yeah,
like I'm no longer. I don't know if I was actually before. I never believed anyone when I was hearing this, next lifetime. And that was in the cold. It was a big one too. In the cold, it was just hilarious. I mean, in the cold to reach heaven, they have their own version of heaven. You have to reborn 9 times, not just next lifetime. No, this guy really took it to another level. I mean, you want to see angels, you want to be, you want immortality 9 lifetimes, and all of them have to be reborn in the cold. So you you live there, you die there, you live there. I mean, it's like he made it impossible. This guy made it impossible. I mean, worse than anyone ever I heard from. It's like it's suffocating. According to them, it's just suffocating. Like that's mean like you will never find that. You will never reach it. Like you're not going to reach it because you have to die, you have to reborn, you will be somebody else, but maybe with some part of your soul there. I mean, it's like by the time you go there, man, the world ends, the sun goes off. You know,
yeah,
not possible. So coming from that suffocating paradigm, which was a total perversion of fourth way. They use the fourth way as a base as to recruit people because fourth way is powerful, really powerful system. It's you read fourth way books, it's like they talk to you. There's a lot of truth in it. It's like they have that power. Gurdjieff certainly had personal power, and they're using that to recruit into their own dogma,
hmm
which doesn't have much to do with the actual fourth way, apparently. And the deeper you go, the farther you move away. But that's already like a cold thing. That's a whole different conversation. It's like what keeps people in cold and all that. That's psychology of the cold. We're not talking about this now. It's a different discussion, just to kind of highlight things. So for me, to leave the cold, and in a week I was already drinking ayahuasca in the jungle. That was much stronger than coming from Soviet Russia into Israel, into religious society. The contrast was bigger. It was bigger. I can't even explain how big. It was like really a total awakening. Like you were sleeping and now you're awake. And here you are in the jungle, and here you drink this medicine, and the whole paradigm just shatters, and spiritual realms and spirits, and you're like, whoa, all right, now we're talking.
yeah,
Finally, it's not easy, but now we're talking. Now nobody's telling me what's all about. Now it's experiential, and that's what I want. I want to experience. I always believe in that. I always intuitively felt like the spirituality must be experiential. Otherwise, it's not spirituality, it's just religious. It's just dogma. Anyone can tell you, oh, God is this and he lives there, and in order to, get out there, you have to do this. That's what we know. This is any religion tells you this. Any form of religion, they just have different, well, differences, but this is basically what it is. You live your life. Then, if you were a good guy and you didn't eat pork and you were kosher, or you meditated, and you did what was asked from you, then you go and you see another level. Then maybe you meet God, or you go somewhere. That's what we all know. You are in America, in Europe, in Russia, in Israel. It's just a difference, a bit different rap, you know. So, but it was completely different thing. It was real. It was no longer in the realms of words and concepts. Here you are
hmm
experiencing it, and you are taken. You know, you're you're not observing anything. You're not like watching a TV, or taking some hallucinogens and watching, horses in your room. I mean, this is real stuff happening. So that's like, it just takes you. And here you are. You wanted this, you got this. Now work through it. That was my start. So I already forgot your question. I don't know if I answered it.
Yeah,
There's so
yeah,
many.
but it just started with a comment of really about the embodied experience, and
Yeah,
that
yeah. Deeper.
spirituality, this sense of connection, this sense of this sacred magic of being itself,
Yeah.
and in connection to nature, in connection to reality, in connection to the world, that it's something that's available right here.
Yeah.
It's
And
not
right now.
achieved. It's not, yeah, it's not about going through the metaphysical steps to reach whatever somewhere else in some other place, some
Yes.
other time, some other life, but it's actually all accessible right here through us, right? Through the
And
work
through
with the plant
plants.
medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Through nature. Through
yeah,
us and through nature.
yeah. So let's talk about Huachuma at this point.
Yeah.
That Yeah, you're actually the first person that I've had here on the podcast, specifically, who has a great deal of experience with Huachuma. And from what you say in the book Mescaline Confessions, you've logged many, many hours with Huachuma. Um,
More than
and
10,000 hours.
yeah, and ayahuasca is something that's been talked about a lot here on the podcast, and tryptamines in general get a lot of airtime. But here we have a phenethylamine, and
Yes.
I'm not surprised that you had an affinity for MDMA and then found that Huachuma, um, you also had an affinity there, because they're both phenethylamines,
Yes.
and so it's a different category of psychedelic, and of course it's related to peyote, right? We're talking about
Yes.
mescaline in both peyote and in
Cactus.
Huachuma. Um, yeah, so how did you get introduced to Huachuma? And let's talk about what that experience is like. And we can get into like methods of consumption and the phenomenology of what the experience is like. That I'd like to hear more about that.
Sure. So, my journey in Peru started from ayahuasca. It was 2 weeks retreat, and it was followed by Huachuma. So intuitively, I was already attracted to Huachuma actually for some reason. But I thought, okay, well, I'll do the whole thing. I don't want to skip anything, I'll do
Yeah,
ayahuasca as the guy suggested, you know, and I'll just roll through the whole program. So we started, and it was difficult. Ayahuasca is difficult medicine to work with, to the most part, and it's not for everyone. You have to feel a strong call to go see her, and even then, it's not guaranteed that it's going to be blissful and beautiful. It can be very difficult, but
yeah,
she decides what face she wants to show you. I mean, she's a woman with million faces, and you never know which face she's going to show you. It's up to her, but she has beautiful faces too, for sure. And in my case, it was just a glimpses of her beauty. I had to pay harsh, high price to see her beauty. It was difficult work, but I didn't skip. I did the whole thing, and it was good. It was really a good shake out of the cold. Man, I threw up the whole cold during these 2 weeks. I literally was throwing up my time in cold. All this brainwashing and all this, you know, suffering that I had there and all this. Everything was literally coming out and into the bucket. So it was very good.
yeah,
It was important work. But when we finished the 10 days, it was 5 ceremonies during the 10 days, and then we rest 2 days, and we had Huachuma. But then when there was Huachuma time, when I drank it first time, after 20 minutes, I already knew it somehow. I already knew it. I recognized the spirit somehow. That was very, very strange. Obviously, it was the first time taking Wachuma in my life, but I knew this, and I got scared. So I went to Harvard, and he was the guy running a retreat. It was his retreat, Harvard Lawler. He died in 2019. He was a really great teacher. I have a lot of love for him and respect. And so I came to him and said, "Hey, Howard, I know this. I know what's coming. I know what to expect." And I got a little bit agitated. He like, "Relax, you came here for this." He could see me, was the first guy who actually could see me through, and that's convincing. When people look at you and they know you, and you know that they know you, that's different level. This is not just some kind of guru muru thing. This is real.
Yeah.
So we had a good conversation, and I feel more relaxed and like, okay, I'm accepting. I'm willing to surrender. That's true. I came here for this. I was all my life waiting for this, and he said like, well, and he told me this. He said like, we're just about to go on a boat, right? It's in the jungle. It's outside of Cactus. So we take medicine and we just go, into the jungle. So he said like, you were looking for this all your life, and then now when you found it, you're ready to run away, and that was true. It was absolutely true. It's like, man, this
Yeah.
is true. The
Like,
truth
oh shit!
is
I
that,
actually found it. Better get
yeah,
out
I
of here.
found it, and now I don't want it. I want to go back. Like, so his words were so truthful that it just make me relax. Like, he's right. That is the truth. And if truth, this is what I want, then where are you running away? I mean, this is something you embrace. So I kept and I let the experience unfold. It was absolute magic. That was absolute magic. Just walking in the forest and all these birds there, and it's like, and the colors, and like, and the connection, and the insight just started to flood you. With, you was like, whoa, that's a lot for one day.
Yeah.
That you feel overwhelmed, but in a good way. It's beauty, love, clarity. That's what Huachuma is. But there's so much of it that it feels a bit heavy time to time. So that's why you need to have a good guide next to you who knows how to help you, when you feel a little bit overwhelmed. So it was absolutely magical day. And I feel like that's my path. This is the medicine I want to work with. This is the medicine I want to dedicate my life to. This is it. Thanks to all, I respect other plant teacher. We're not in competition. We're all playing a part, and different people need different medicine, different time in their lives. So it's not like one medicine better than another. We don't do that. We don't see it that way here. It's like every medicine has its own place, you know, and you need to find your relation and your timing with them. So they all, it's the same categories, the plant teachers, it's master plants, ayahuasca, huachuma, peyote, you know, they're all in the same category, they're just different. They're taking you pretty much in the same place, but through a different portals, and some
Hmm.
portals are, it's just different rides, different ride, but eventually they lead you, they're supposed to all bring you to the same place of unity, connection, love, joy. If done right with right people, that's where you go.
Yeah.
So this experience was probably, yeah, it's not probably, it's for sure. This is when I really decided on what to do in this life. This is the medicine to pursue for me personally. So we had 3 weeks of Huachuma. We traveled in the end. This was absolutely mind blowing. Ancient culture, pyramids, power places, drinking Huachuma there. It's like looking through the walls, talking to ancient spirits. It's like, whoa. That's like, I mean, 5 weeks there. I went home. You can imagine. It was a different guy. Went back to California. One guy left, another guy came. You know, and I knew this is it. I know my path. I know what to pursue. I know where to go. Now I need to walk the path. It's a different. You're no longer seeking for a path. You're now walking the path. So you have to reorganize your life in a way that your spirituality has priority. It's not somewhere in the back anymore. When and you give it all it takes. I knew this is spiritual path. This is my spiritual path. Something I was seeking in the books, reading hundreds of books in my 17, 18, 20, 20. I also read books. Osho when I was 17, Castaneda. I mean, I always read someone. But finally, there was no more need for reading. There was only a need of
Yeah.
walking and doing it and taking the experience and figuring things out for yourself. So it took me 3.5 years going back to Peru, back and forth. I was going to the same place, working with the same people for 3.5 years until I made the decision to actually move to Peru and serve the medicine. It's another level. You no longer going to do it for yourself. You're serving the medicine to other people. That's I just feel the call from the medicine, and I described, I think, in the first book how that happened, and later on. So Huachuma, just to talk about Huachuma, if just to relate to your question,
Hmm.
it's a very different experience. It's Huachuma, it's love, really. It's really love. That's the nature of this medicine. It's pure divine love that is enlightening, insightful, empowering, connecting, healing. That's the experience. It's a nature medicine. It's the medicine that takes you out of your head, puts you in your heart, and through your heart, you start seeing your life. You connect to other people, you connect to the world, you see nature in its own original primal beauty. The magic that it's always there, but we don't see it. We are disconnected from it. I mean, it's incredible. You start seeing through the veil. If you
Hmm.
read Sufis in your life, they talk about the veil, lifting the veil. Well, that's the veil. The veil is lifted, and you start seeing. It's not like you seeing hallucinations or visions. uh, you bypass all that. You see the truth. You see the spiritual reality. You see spirit in reality, spirit in nature, spirit in the universe, and you see yourself as part of it. It's purely mystical experience if you have that. If you can take yourself there. It's not it's not like right away opening to you. You have to work a bit to go there, and that's where my work comes. That's where I take people, because it was my background. I'm kind of coming from that Eastern philosophy, so awakening. What is awakening? What is conscious? So for me, these are the answers I found for myself. So this is the answer I want to share with others. But it's not like I'm giving them my answers. No, I want people to find their own answers. I'm just kind of guiding them towards that by providing everything they need in order to experience and understand their own truth. That's for me. That's what true spirituality means. It doesn't. It doesn't mean much to me if someone comes and tell you, hey, consciousness is this, and awakening is. It's like it's worse. We heard it thousands of times in cult. I'm allergic to this. I have allergic reaction to all these gurus and all this thing. I can't stand it, man. It's like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
I'm not taking this anymore. There is inner guru that everyone has to awaken, and that's you. That's the better part of you. That's the knowing part of you. That's just lethargic, just kind of suppressed by the matrix. And that's the whole thing. And religion is part of it. If you really look deep enough, you see that religion actually plays another part. It's not taking you out of matrix, it just keeps you there. It's like another department of matrix. It's a spiritual
Yeah.
department of matrix. Oh, you want religion? Oh, come here. We have it here for you. Don't worry, just do this. True spirituality, true experience, psychedelic spirituality takes you outside of this. That's what we call it entheogens. It's the generation of that divine within. And it's not imagination. You truly generate. And it's not even generate. I don't even know if that's the right way to say it. It's just connecting to what's there. It's more. That's how I see it. You just connect to what's there, but you were, for some reason, disconnected from nature, from yourself, by different factors. So that's what Huachuma does. It just opens you up to the real world, so you can see yourself in objective light, beyond your name, beyond your social status, beyond your political beliefs. It's all there. You can look through it, but you see through this, and if you see deep enough, you can see your divine connection, your core connection with universe. And that's where, this is when you understand God. This is when you understand what God means. It's like, it's no longer three words, I mean, three letters of a word. It's a state of being. It's a state of connection, a state of consciousness that you are you are basically. It's a state of being.
Yeah.
You are, and call your God whatever you want. You believe in who you can believe in who you want to believe. It's irrelevant anymore. It takes you outside of this paradigm. For you, God has become just existence, the life force that makes universe what it is. You connect to that energy. You connect to that source. That's what Huachuma is. And at the same time, Huachuma is such an amazing plant. It's like it gives you everything but asks nothing in return. It's just take it all. It's just a loving spirit. Take it all. Take. You want to go deeper? Let's go. But it will not force you. It will not push you. It will meet you where you at and it will work with you. It's like, okay, you want to think about this? All right. What do you think? What do you want to think about today? You want to figure out, your relationship with your parents? Okay, let's talk about that. And then you start to figure out your life and healing your past, really. And there's a lot of there. I mean, I've seen incredible healing here, and that's not even something I advertise. I don't even advertise the thing. I don't say I do this, because it just happens. The medicine is the healer. I'm not the healer. I'm a servant. I'm just serving the medicine. The medicine is the healer, for sure, 100%. I'm just a servant. I'm just a guy, you know, uh, making the stage here, for the real show, for the real master to come and tell you and heal you. But I've seen things. I mean, with all humility, I can say that I've saved lives here with the medicine. We had people who came here seriously, not just depressed, severely depressed, suicidal. I had people who had scheduled their death. Think about this, and they canceled their death after a few weeks here. This is the kind of impact it can have on your life.
Hmm.
Just talking about the therapeutical side. It's not just
Yeah.
all about therapy. For me, actually, it never was for me about therapy. I never looked for therapy. I was looking for spirituality. What is spirituality? What is awakening that all these people speaking about? So therapy is just for me. It's like a side effects. That's how I see it. If you come here and you get well, great. I will be more happy for you. But it's not what I do. I just want to connect you to yourself and let you figure out your life. Whatever that means. Find your own answers. So it has incredible therapeutic power, but there is more to it. It's purely mystical in terms of Huxley. That's why I like Huxley, and I refer to him in some of the books because he understood the power of mescaline from one time. I mean, he just took it once, and that was not even in a shamanic setting. That was not out in nature. It was in the Beverly Hills, an apartment, and was extracted mescaline, and that was enough for him to tap into full mystical dimension of it. So that just tells you, that just tells you who Huxley was. He
Yeah.
was a very bright intellectual guy, and it tells you the power of mescaline. So it takes you there. If you incline to any philosophical thinking, whoa, it will blow the whole lid open. I mean, just wait. It's like there will be no end to those insights. I mean, but it's not overwhelming. As I said, you can walk with it step by step, and we work step by step. It's like it's important to heal stuff in your life. It's just important, because many people come with traumas. So in order to see the beauty, you have to go through the pain, and sometimes the pain creates a certain wall in you and kind of disconnect between you and your own heart. So you need to melt it gently so people can embrace themselves and accept them, and then they open up to the mystical realm of it. So healing really comes with it has to come, and it comes first too. But it's not the only dimension of Wachuma. It's just beautiful medicine, beautiful, trustworthy, loving, wise spirit, and it's totally ecstatic. It's just pure ecstasy. It's pure divine ecstasy. It's like it. Just to compare, if you like MDMA, did you have MDMA in your life?
Yes.
Yeah. So you probably like MDMA.
Yeah.
It's good. It was my favorite drug always, but it always came with that chemical taste to it, and I don't mean taste when you take it on your tongue. it's a taste, it's a spiritual taste because it's chemical, it's a love thing, it's not coming from the love. So it has that chemical background, you know, it has it, you know, you can, it's unavoidable, it's there. So, but if you like that, you would resonate with Huachuma because they're very similar in that sense. Mescaline and MDMA, they are, it's like mescaline is the pure form of ecstasy. It's organic, you know, but it's a very similar realms. So if you resonate with one, most likely you will resonate with the other one much more. And of course, after taking organic, you most likely you would not go back to chemical unless you want to connect and there is no other way and plant medicine is not available, then you can work with it, you know. But the realms are um, well, they are very much recognizable, you know. It's just the mescaline, it's a natural thing. It connects you straight to nature, you know. It's like you don't have that chemical filter, you know. It's direct, it's just poof, and you're there, you know. And here you are talking to the trees all day, you know. And you're not really talking to them in terms of psilocybin way, you know. They're not, you know, they're not coming to you, and they're not changing shapes. They just become alive, you know. Nature becomes alive. You see the whole thing the same, nothing scary about, you see the same mountains, same trees, but different. You see their magic, you see their beauty, and you see, it's like, wow, I never saw so much beauty, so much light in my life. But everything the same, you're completely adequate. The beauty of mescaline is that you remain adequate the whole time. I write books on medicine, you know. It's like you're not, it's not taking you away. Mescaline, you come in, it brings you in, brings you into yourself,
Yeah.
into the moment. So you're totally connected, your perception is, whoa, you know, totally expanded. But you're very much here. You can have, you can talk, you can write, you're very much you, but just more awake, you know. So that's what I love about this medicine, that it, in comparison to ayahuasca, you know, it's a very different dimension. Ayahuasca takes you, and it's another dimension, spiritual dimension, spirits, you know, spirits of other plants, and you know, a lot happens there, you know. So it's different dimension. Here we work with daylight. I do ceremonies in the morning. We start in the morning. I work with daylight. I work with beauty of nature. That's the medium of healing. That's where you understand everything. We drink the medicine, we go out and we spend all day in nature. Different places, you know, different places have different energy. You have wakas, which is power places, that's different than sitting by the river, but the river is different than sitting by the lagoon. You know, it's like they all have different energy. And medicine allows you to connect to energetic fields that are present in the ruins and in natural places. And it allows you to consume it. You consume it. You take it. It's like a hummingbird drinks from the flower. That's how you can take that healing power from nature and heal yourself and empower yourself. And when we go to the ruins, it's different because then you connect to the ancient cultures and people and their minds. You know, it's different experience. So it's the same medicine, but can be different experience in different places. You know, so the main thing for me, it's beauty, beauty of nature. That's how
Yeah.
we work. That's why we do it. And then we come home at night, we close the ceremony, and everybody having their own evening, you know, and kind of discharging and talking and laughing. That's where discharge comes. Because the ceremony is very private. It's like we don't talk, we don't employ any music. We work with silence, you know, because I believe that silence is the door to understanding, you know. If you really want to go deep inside yourself, you need to allow yourself that space. And it's not possible if somebody talking next to you and somebody playing a guitar, which can be very beautiful, but it's not about that. You can do it at night when it's when you go on a downhill, you know. During the ceremony, it's important to provide this silent place when you go inside yourself and really trying to figure things out for yourself. Just look inside and see what your life is about. Are you living right? Are you happy? You know, what needs to change? You need a time to think. Here you are. So that's what we provide: the medicine, the space, the guidance, and we work together. We talk. We just have spontaneous conversation that I find very healing for people, you know? It was for me like this. It's like that was with Harvard, that was with shamans in Mexico, it's the same. We talk, we took the medicine, we talk. And through the conversation, I understood important things for me. And these understandings were the catalyst for change. I understood something, and it's kind of you building yourself upon that. So I thought, I'm going to talk to people. I'm not singing, I'm not playing music, I'm just talking. I'm providing silence, support, holding space, and talking. And it's very private, and it's not, and it's when it's needed. There is a dynamic in ceremony. You have to do it right in the proper time. You know, but it's a quiet immersion with nature. Basically, that's what we do with this medicine.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to ask you about methods of consumption and also dosage. And I'll just kind of start by sharing just a couple things for myself. One
Mhm.
is many years ago, someone gave me like a jar. Right, it was a bottle, and it had like a sort of snotty, viscous liquid in there. And she said, "Yeah, this is Huachuma," and um, it ended up it was actually gifted to me at Burning Man, and then it ended up in a freezer, and then it was out of a freezer, and I didn't know, like, well, is this going to go bad? I
Mhm.
didn't know, what the proper
Experimentation.
storage of that would be. So I never ended up taking that. But then some years later, this is much more recently, a few years ago, someone brought me a glass jar with dried powdered Huachuma in it,
Mhm.
and um, I asked him, like, well, how much do you take? And he said, oh, well, I take a spoonful. I said, oh, okay. So it was, I think it was in the winter and started sometime in the late afternoon or early evening. And I took two spoonfuls. And then about an hour later, I was like, oh, okay, I'll do two more. And I took two more spoonfuls. And then another hour after that, I was like, well, I think I'll just take three more spoonfuls. So I ended up taking seven spoonfuls.
Too
And then
early.
at that point, I felt like, okay, now here we go. And I was just lying down on my bed, had my eyes closed, headphones on, I was listening to my own music, and then it got very beautiful, very visual, and it was pretty much all that I can really remember. I think it was like at least 4 or 5 hours of just beautiful kaleidoscopic geometry, but it all looked to me, I'm really familiar with like tripping on mushrooms, and the visuals to me, it all looked very cactus like for some reason. I mean, I couldn't tell you why. It just looking at all of this with my eyes closed is like, oh yeah, this is definitely a cactus. This is definitely absolutely a cactus. And then maybe 5 hours into that, there came a point where I suddenly, it was just like, oh, I'm done with the inside stuff at that point. And so then I kind of got up off my bed, and I was like, oh, I'm here now. And then here, I'll just move this over. You can see I have my art around my house.
You mean
And
that's
what I ended,
yours? That
yeah, that I made that
beautiful.
one,
Very
and
beautiful.
like this one
Uh-huh.
over here. And what ended up happening was, is I went around the house and I sat in front of each piece of art, and I just sat there and just got completely absorbed in the art. And that was the next, I don't even know how many hours, but it was definitely several hours long of that. And all the way through this first half of the experience, I could tell that I was going to throw up at some point. But it wasn't like I was feeling, it's not like sometimes with ayahuasca you're like, oh my god, like all this stuff is going on. I could just tell, like, no, I'm going to throw up at some point. And so then about halfway through the night, I went over into the bathroom and I just kind of opened up my mouth and just blah, just threw up. And at that point, I kind of felt like, well, I think I'm done looking at the art. But it was 3 in the morning, something like that at that point. And so what I ended up doing is I put on Netflix and I found some high definition nature documentaries. And then from like 5 a.m. or like 3 a.m. to 8 a.m. in the morning, I just watched nature documentaries and just absorbed the
Mm-hmm.
experience through that. And that was my one full Huachuma experience. The whole thing lasted about 16 hours. Um, So yeah, so I just wanted to ask you about, so this was a powdered mix of Huachuma. I've
Yeah.
also seen a rather old documentary film of a Peruvian shaman who would take the Huachuma and slice it, and then he would boil it, and then he would like drink it through his nose. He would like pour it through his nose. And then I've also, like I started with sort of the very viscous, sort of snotty consistency drink. So what are the different ways of serving it, and how
Mhm.
does that impact the experience, or does it? And what is a good dose of Huachuma?
Okay. Well, there's a lot here. I mean, you ask a lot. You know? So it's like, yes, there are different ways to prepare the medicine for sure. And dry is a one form. Personally, I don't work with powder. I work with brews. Um, and I will explain you why. Powder is good for traveling, you know. When we travel, it's just easier to take medicine around. That's the only way why when I would take powder. It just, we go through the airports and, liquids and things, and so it just makes it easier.
Yeah,
It's just that. But you cannot go with powder as deep as you can go with the brew. Just not possible. Doesn't matter how much you eat. You can the whole jar. It will be extremely powerful. I mean, you'll probably explode sometime by the morning, but it's not enough. It just not takes you there. It just something happens when you brew the medicine in the right way. And more elements involved, and the fire and the water and the intention, and you kind of brew yourself with the medicine. The magic happens when we brew the medicine. So it takes you deeper, just the fact. But powder is very good. You can work with it absolutely. If the channel is already opened and you know where you're going, definitely it can be a very, very good tool in your daily life. It's just for not to start. You have to start it right, and start it right is you need to work with the altar. It's a mesa. It's the whole shamanic tradition that I learned from Howard, and he was strong on that. He's like, through him I learned what part of mesa, what mesa is. It's an altar with all this shamanic object on it, and why you need to have it, and it's definitely the anchor, is the energetic anchor of the whole ceremony. It's stationary, but you feel it everywhere you go. So it's for your safety, it's for you connect. Mesa is it's a connection point. You connect to those elements that are on your altar. And that can be different. That can be animals, humans, ancient teachers. So that's important part of the ancient Peruvian Huachuma tradition. So to do it right, you have to have the altar. To have the altar, you have to, that's not just you just go around and you buy a few crystal in the store. That doesn't work like that exactly. That's something that you grow into it. There's something that you understand. Like you walk in the mountains, for example, and you see a stone that talks to you, and you're like, whoa. And the stone takes you, the rock tells you, take me. So you take it. That's the gift of the mountains of that day. That's part of your altar now. It reminds you that particular day, that particular insight. It connects you to that kind of place in time.
hmm
And then you go and then you find a feather. Wow. And then there's the whole thing connected to it. That's how you build your altar. And then when you kind of opening your up to it, more things coming to you. And then you can start calling to things too. You just call and then they come to you. That's already kind of, that's magic already. That's not to start with, but that's where the really what human unfolds when you understand that. So we brew the medicine, and it's a liquid. You drink a tea. I give you tea. It's not horrible. It's not viscous. It's a medicine, so it's a bit bitter. And depends on the strength. It will be more bitter if it's more concentrated, or less if it's less concentrated, and the color will be darker if it's strong brew, and it will be lighter if it's lighter brew. And I always have different brews because different people need different brew. It's not one thing for all. Like, it depends on people's experience. If you come with a lot of experience, you did mushrooms and you did this and that, you know how to hold yourself in psychedelic state. That's a different work than it will be someone who just hear the podcast today and want to do Wachuma tomorrow and never had a
hmm
joint in their life. Totally fine, but it will be different medicine. It will be lighter. It takes time to bring people to their strength and to find confidence and connection. So there are different strength of medicine for different people. And but powder, no, I don't use, only if I travel. And if I have time, I will still brew it and I will extract that thing out of powder. I will not just eat powder or give powder, if possible. If not, that's okay. We can eat powder. It's still a cactus, still the medicine. Full respect to it, but there can be more done with it, in a certain
Mm-hmm.
way. So the dose, I mean, you can't. It's different. You don't know what cactus it is. You don't know where it's coming from. There are different strands, different ages. It's not all one thing. It's not like you take one, like 5 gram of dry mushroom from that forest. You know what it is. Or you take one capsule of MDMA. Okay, 2 capsule means that. It's not like that. You can't tell really. You need to know where it's coming from. What are the cactus? How old? And you need to know yourself too. What's your dose. Some people are less sensitive, some people more. Some people are hypersensitive, like me. I have over a decade medicine in me. I just look at the medicine and I'm already there. But for some people you need more. So that's where my experience come. When I have a group of people coming, I see what to give you. I know how. I know, I don't know, but I know you need this medicine, you need that much. Boom, and that will be exact. That will be exactly what you need. No more, no less. And that's how we work. So if you do it on your own, which I don't recommend people do any plant medicine on your own. I mean, unless they are experienced. Like in your case, you did this and that. You're okay. You're not going to freak out and call 911 when your walls start to move. You'll be just
Yeah.
looking at your art, so it's okay. But for new people, no, you have to do any psychedelics. That's my suggestion, to do with people who knows psychedelics. It's like somebody who is there for you to talk you out of it or to help you through it, when you need help. Not by yourself. No, it's irresponsible. So I can make the suggestion. It's irresponsible on my part to say, oh, go take 3 spoons and you're okay. No, you want to do it right, you come see me in Peru or somebody else. But do it with people who know. Or for you, for example, if you took 7 spoons and it went for 16 hours, well, you know how to navigate through it. You want 5 6 hours, you take a few spoons. You want longer, you take more. And then in your case it happened because you took too much too soon. That's what happens. That's why we never give medicine more before a certain time, because it comes after like 2 hours. Huachuma takes time to unfold, so you never take too much before, because then it hits you strong. And when it hits you strong, then then it's a different work. It's hard to move through it when you're fighting the medicine, and the idea is to avoid that. You don't want your client, fight with the medicine. You want them to work with the
Yeah.
medicine. So it has to be right dose at the right time. So, the journey has to be, it's a happy journey, really. It's a happy medicine. It can have difficult moments when you think about pain, your relationship with parents or with loved ones, and there's pain involved. So it's not going to be happy at that moment, but it's a healing. You need to heal that. But generally speaking, it's a happy journey. That's why you see smiling jaguars on the ancient Chavina art, because that's what it represents. It represents joy and strength, but these folks are happy. They're ecstatic, So that's the essence of the medicine. But of course, sometimes you cry, sometimes you purge, It's medicine. That's what happened. So it's important not to rush. Never with this medicine. Take your time. You take whatever you take and you wait and you give it 2.5, 3 hours. After 3 hours, you know where you are. If you feel like you need to go deeper, you can, and you have that capacity. Okay, take another spoon in your case, and then you go over and then you let that unfold. And then after 2 hours, you see where you are and like, okay, do you still want to go deeper? All right, you can add fire into it. But if you put a lot of firewood in the chimney right away, man, you burn down your house. you know, the fire is just too strong. You have to build the fire. Same with the internal fire. You need to build it. With Huachuma, you need to build it. You let it breathe, you let it burn, and then you work with it. That's how we work. That's the dynamic, you know. And usually when I give people medicine in the morning, that's not for the whole day, you know. It's just the right dose, and then you work with it the whole day, and then rare when people ask more. But if you ask more, it depends on you. If you have a lot of psychedelics taking your life and you are very comfortable to go deep within yourself, then sure, I can give you more. But I need to be sure about this. I need to be
Yeah.
confident about you, and you need to be confident about you too. And it's something we talk about, and something you know, it's a mutual thing. So in your case, if you have powder to work with, I think it's very beautiful, and you know it already. But you don't even need that much. You know, usually if I make powder for traveling, for me it will be just a spoon, and you feel it. It's pretty potent medicine, and rarely you need more. But you know, I can tell you like, oh, you need 3 spoons, oh, you need 5 spoons, or you need 1 spoon. I need to see you. I need to feel you. I need to talk to you. I need to understand your background, your experience, and then how you react to different plants. You know, and then all this makes me decide what you need when you come here. You know, so it's a bit hard to say like I don't even know what your jar from. And when people give you liquid, how you know what's there? There is no way to know. It can be super concentrated that you need a spoon, or it can be mild that you need to drink more, you know? So it's always like a general rule. It's always safer, just be safer, just to take less and see what it does. And then you can add. It's always easier to add than to remove. I cannot remove
Yeah.
anything. It's like when you took the cup, you know, you pretty much locked on a 12 hours, 14 hours, 15 hours or more journey, you know? So it has to be the right cup because the beautiful journey can turn to not beautiful and scary, and when you start fighting the medicine. And that's the wrong way. You don't want to fight the medicine. The medicine is not to fight with. The medicine is to come and heal yourself. You know, life is the battlefield. You come here to find help and healing. So if you start to fight here, then where do you go from here? You know, it's like it has to be right dose.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I've already had you for quite a while today, taking your afternoon, but I do have just a couple more things that I would like to ask you. First of all, is just about Huachuma Huasi. So this
Mhm.
is your center in Peru. Maybe just tell us a little bit about that, and if people wanted to come and be served Huachuma, how do they go about doing that?
Yes, Huachuma Wasi is it's our home actually, which is also a retreat center. We live here, and you know, it was a vision. It was 10 years ago. Yeah, 10 years, 11 years. We were sitting on the cornfield. It was a cornfield. And me and my wife, my Peruvian wife, we were sitting here. And I told her that here we will build our house for our family. And here it will be our retreat center. And we'll have a lot of people coming from all over the world to do this medicine. And that was a cornfield, you know, sitting actually
Mhm.
corn growing, you know, and she believed me, you know. So I had the medicine, we shared that, and it took us a decade to build this, you know, slowly, slowly, slowly. So now it's a beautiful place for people to arrive and feel comfortable and safe and do this medicine in the right way. So we live in the Sacred Valley. We live in Calca. It's a it's an Indian town right in the Sacred Valley near Cusco. We're an hour from Cusco, and we're open all year around. That's what we do for a living. You know, we sell medicine, so you can come anytime. You just talk to me, of course. We schedule. You book your room, and you come for as long as you want, and we drink every 2 days, and you rest in between, and you go sightseeing. It's incredible here. A part of beautiful mountains all over. You have very rich ancient culture here. You know, Machu Picchu is down the road. Sacsayhuaman in Cusco, Ollantaytambo, 50 minutes away. We live in the middle of all this. So it's very enriching. It's to see ancient culture, how they live here, what an incredible structure they built here, and why, and So that's something you do in between ceremonies. The main focus, of course, is the healing, is the expansion of your consciousness. But sightseeing, it's a big part of it. traveling around. So it's a comfortable place. When you come with your family, you have everything here. We did the best so people feel at home. So you come and here's your kids if you want to come with your wife, with your mom. People bringing family here. This often happens. And we just do medicine every 2 days, and we talk and we journeying and we heal and we share and you just have a great, very, very deep experience here. Very great time. Probably the most amazing time in your life. And you can stay as long as you want. We're not like like other retreat centers that when I was going, they had a certain time, like okay, 2 weeks of the month. That's it. You come
Hmm.
and everybody leaves. I didn't feel that that was the best way to do it. It's like I can do more by allowing you to stay here months, a month if you want, 3 months if you want. It's like some people just want to go really deep in themselves. 2 weeks is just not enough. You can do some good work in 2 weeks, even in 1 week, but it takes time to go deep. It takes time to trust, it takes time to open up. So I said, okay, just take your room and stay as much as you want. You decide when you want to go home. Keep it open. So some people come for a month, for 2 months, and like some people don't want to go home. They just don't want to go. They love it here, but you have to go back at some point. You have to
Yeah.
work. You
Yeah.
have things to do. So, but it's a very yeah. That's what we do for a living. So it's comfortable. It's safe. You can see the videos and pictures on my website. People can contact me through my website, and that's where my books are, my films are. I just put content there, so people will have um, something to really to read, to watch, and make their decisions if that's for them. If they resonate with me, with my words, with my work, then they would resonate with my medicine because we're one, really. So I'm putting as much as I can up front. Here we are. Check it out. If you feel like taking a next step, well, write me an email. That's it. That's simple.
Yeah. Great. Well, just to wrap it up, I'd like to just bring us back briefly to kind of where we started. A couple weeks ago, I got an email from a fellow in Russia saying that he was asking permission to transcribe my podcast episodes into Russian and make them available for a Russian audience. Um, and he said that nobody around here knows anything about plant medicines, and it's even in putting it out, he said, I'm going to have to be anonymous because you can get in trouble even just for talking about it. And I was just wondering if there's anything that you would want to say about accessibility or interest in plant medicines going back to Ukraine or Russia, if you know if people are interested there? Do you get clients coming from that part of the world, or is this still kind of not known?
It is known. It becomes more known. People do know. Russia, Ukraine. Yes, I have some. Most of our guests are Americans, Canadians. It just happened that way because I live in America, So I don't know. It's English speaking world. Although I speak Russian, Hebrew, and Spanish. I speak four languages, but most 90% it's Canadians, Americans, European, Australians, but English speaking. From Russia, I only have a few people. Like they're coming usually in January. It's a holidays there, so they somehow finding me. But the funny thing, I have my first book in Russian. It was published in Moscow, but I never had money to really, advertise it. So it's just sitting there. So I can just tell you, oh yeah, you can read my book in Russian, and but you have to give a direct link, and here is the name of the book. It's not like I'm not known in Russia. Just
Mm-hmm.
some people who come here drink medicine with me here and there, but I'm not a known guy there. For it just That's how it happened. So, but people are learning about this, and they're very receptive, and they're very appreciative. People who I had here, they came, they drank, and said like, "Whoa, this is real thing." Like, no kidding. Yeah, it's very real. So it's like people come from Russia, they're ready for something real because in Russia there is so much bullshit, and that's like it's like you need to be Russian to know what I'm talking about. So when they drink this medicine, they're like, wow, this is real. They're ready. They're good people, but they need to be reached, and the government does not allow that. Like, I don't even know how my book still there.
Hmm.
Somehow it went under the radar. My first book, Path, and it's pretty, I'm talking about my path, how a Ukrainian guy ended up serving medicine in Peru. There's a lot of stuff there, so it should be censored basically, but it somehow it's there, it's available. So absolutely, if you want to do it, green light, let him do that. Bring the message to these people. People need this medicine, especially now, living in this crazy COVID world. You need Huachuma or any medicine. You need ayahuasca, you need mushrooms, you need psychedelic experience to take you out of this fear matrix. So it's
Yeah.
very important, it's crucial now. The medicine is, that's the message basically of my last book, The Cactus of Sanity, that I just published like two months ago. Basically, I try to convince the urgency to people, to convey the urgency of plant medicine. Any plant medicine of your choice. It's time for experience. It's time to get out of your head into your heart and find your core connection with the universe if you want to maintain sanity in the crazy world, which will be more crazy next year and more crazy probably a year after that. It's time to find your truth. And plant medicine, it's here to help you. That's it. That's basically to boil down my message with all these words. So absolutely, they want to do it, let them do it. You want to transcribe this podcast, go ahead. Read my book in Russian, put it everywhere. There is no more time for hiding. That's what I'm saying. If if before awakening was a privilege, today is a necessity. We
Yes.
must wake up. It's no longer a privilege of few, called or chosen. Everybody is chosen. Everybody. It's like your heart beats, you're chosen. You are here. What was the chance for having you in this sitting in this chair? You know? The one to what, millions? Who knows? But you're here. You're sitting here. You are chosen. That's how I see it. The rest is just politics. So medicine, it's you just need to find your medicine, what talks to you most. Not everyone, not everything, every plant for everyone. But generally speaking, Huachuma, it's a universal plant. It's like it works for 99.9% of the people, regardless what you believe in. What's your background, how much you know about spirituality, how many books you read in your life. It doesn't matter. You came with open heart, sincere. It's here for you. Work with it. Take advantage of this time. Who knows what can happen in the world? If medicine might not be possible. Travel might not be possible. So it's time to really come out of your closet, if you can say that, and from your fear matrix and say, like, you know what? People speak about plant medicine changing people's lives. Absolutely, absolutely. It's 5 years of therapy in one ceremony. It works. Do it. Just do it right. Do it with right people. Jump into it, but thoughtfully, responsibly. That's what I mean. But there is no more time for talking about spirituality or awakening or connection. It's time to do it. It's time to embrace this potential for healing and leave this and give it to your family, give it to your friend, give it back to your communities, and empower yourself and people, because people are losing their minds and there is no much therapy available there to bring
Yeah.
you back to reality.
Yeah.
So plant medicine is my therapist. The cactus is my therapist, is my teacher, is my God, it's my friend, it's my guide, it's my everything. It's my wife, it's my second wife. You know, I married the cactus. We are one. We are family.
Yeah. Well,
So
great, Sergey. Thank you so much for sharing your story, your experience, and making yourself available to people through Wachuma Wasi. and also just making yourself available for the podcast today. Thank you for contacting me many, many months ago with your
Yeah,
book, The Mescaline Confession. And sorry it took me so long to get around to it, but it's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast, get a chance to get
sure.
to know you and hear more about Huachuma, and
Yeah, you're welcome.
definitely resonate with your message. So thank you very
You're welcome.
much.
It was a good surprise to hear from you. I already forgot who you are. I
Yeah.
got your email and I'm like, Martin, man, who is that guy? I mean, what podcast? It's like I had to go digging through emails. Like, okay, let's do it. So I enjoy very much talking to you too.
Great. Well, thank you for your time, Sergey.
You're welcome.